Hari Om. Namaskaram. We will chant verse 30. Pranayamam pratyaharam nityanitya vekavicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurvavadhanam mahadhavadhanam. Pranayamam pratyaharam nityanitya vekavicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurvavadhanam mahadhavadhanam. The 30th verse gives us the antaranga sadhana. Antaranga means the internal, sadhana means the spiritual disciplines. Contrary to the 27th verse, which gave the bahiranga sadhana, which are the external spiritual disciplines. Just to give you the reference, 27 gave the external, the penultimate verse gives us the internal spiritual disciplines. Now, what is he saying here? Pranayamam pratyaharam. Pranayamam, regulation of pranas, which is life's activities. Pratyaharam, sense, withdrawal. Nitya, anitya, viveka vicharam. The reflection on the distinction between the permanent and the impermanent. Japya sameta samadhi vidhanam, practice of chanting and the silencing of the mind. Kurvavadhanam, mahadavadhanam. These perform with care, with great care. Mahadavadhanam. With great care. The 28th and the 29th verse. See, the last 4 verses is being summed up by the Guru. So 28 and 29, the Guru destroyed or demolished our motivations of life, which is kanchana, acquisition and enjoyment. Enjoyment was given in 28, 29 was acquisition. He belittled it. He said, don't get caught up in this purposeless life of, don't consume your life by acquisition and enjoyment. Having destroyed it, having demolished it, he says, in this mantra, he says, supplement it with the sadhana which is being prescribed here. So only when you are able to take your mind understanding the futility in that which you're engaged with, can you redirect it towards something higher. So the realization starts with understanding the hollowness of your current pursuit. And then perhaps you would direct it to something purposeful and meaningful. So it is realizing the hollowness of your current practices. That's the first step. Now, he talks of 5 practices here. Pranayamam, regulation of pranas, which is life's activities. Now, prana which is breath. Breath is one of the 5 pranas. The 5 pranas are prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana. The 5 physiological functions: perception, excretion, digestion, circulation, and thought absorption. The 5 physiological functions. Prana is related to the air we breathe. Now, regulation of pranas or life's activities, what that means is the involuntary actions of the body must be regulated and controlled so that the body and the vital air functions doesn't interfere in your spiritual sadhana. They don't become a hindrance. So the 5 physiological functions, the involuntary functions, has to be regulated, has to be disciplined, has to be exercised. We all are breathing 24 hours a day. None of us can deny that. But how many of us are doing regulated breath? How many of us are conscious of regulating the process of breathing? Because only when the process of breathing is regulated, that regenerates life, that invigorates, that refreshes, that is energy. When you regulate your breath is energy. You may be just living because of your breathing. The moment you stop breathing, you say he's no more living, he's dead. Isn't it the first thing they say? They check whether you're breathing. You know, this fellow is not breathing. Get rid of the body. No use. So it is not the question of whether you're breathing or not, but the moment you inject that discipline of regulation and control and exercise, it gives life. It invigorates, it gives energy. You can take it literally, or you can take it philosophically in a larger perspective. So even in a philosophical perspective, from a relative sense, don't we all associate breath to the state of our mind? When your breath is off control, it's not its normal self. When your breathing becomes irregulated, it is directly related to the state of your mind. So when your emotions are not under control, when you become emotional, it reflects in your breath going out of control. So what does it mean? By controlling the breath, you will control the mind. That's what it means? It doesn't mean that, Hirenji. You're nodding the head for the wrong statement. You're rightly nodding for the wrong statement. I observed that.
Yes. What are the question, Guruji Pranam?
Namaskar. No, I have taken objection to your nodding of the head. That's all.
Oh, okay.
I suppose I can, no?
You
I have
can,
that freedom.
of course.
I have that freedom with you, isn't it?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. But yeah, I didn't realize probably what I was nodding at exactly, to be honest.
No, I know. That's the reason I had to bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
You know, what I said was, you must be thinking, why is this fellow so serious this morning? It doesn't take long for me to become my normal self, RPG. It doesn't take long. Well, the point I was making, Hirenji, was that the breath and mind, state of mind are very well connected.
Absolutely.
Like when your breathing is normal, your mind is relatively calm. Right now, suppose you're not even feeling your breath because it's all under control, and also it reflects your mind is very much calm. Nothing is disturbing or perturbing. But the moment your breath is out of control is directly associated or related to the emotional state. If your mind, for example, is overwhelmed with fear, or if there is insecurity or anger or some emotion, instantly you find you swell up.
Yeah.
You're unable to control yourself. Then I made a statement: controlling of breath is not controlling of the mind. In fact, it is the contrary. The control of breath cannot control the mind. It's
not
always
necessary. Yeah. Sorry.
the control of breath cannot control the mind, sir.
Agree.
It is the control of the mind that controls the breath. It's the other way around. Everybody in the spiritual practices today, spirituality, a large section of spiritual practices boils down to performing pranayama. And these modern so-called famed and named gurus have given all kind of funny self-created, some kind of taggy names they've created for these breathing exercises, and they're marketing. And one of the easiest things to do is to teach breathing exercise. Easiest. So therefore you become a guru in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they do a course and you become a guru. I'm not criticizing, I'm just being factually mentioning. I know many such gurus.
Yeah, we are doing it, in fact. I mean,
I would do it after the class.
Yeah, I practice it. We are trying to tell other people something called that mindfulness. We are trying to teach in the schools. So I'll be very interested to hear through what, where is wrong there, or.
I don't know if that is mindfulness, but the belief system, the contrary to what the fact is, the belief is by practicing pranayama, which is regulating and controlling breath, they have people are marketing it as a spiritual exercise. And thanks to texts like this, where there's a reference to it, they would use these textbooks as authorities and say, see, the shastras themselves are saying, recommending, you must do pranayama, regulate your pranas, life activities. But what we must understand is breath doesn't control the mind directly. It is only conducive. It only creates a conducive environment. Exactly. But what is the rationale behind it is breath is a part of the physical anatomy. It is gross, it is tangible, and mind is a subtle function which is non-tangible. So one is gross, tangible, another is intangible. It's a function, it's not an organ. The mind is a state of your feelings and emotions. It is not an organ. We must recognize that. Now, what the point is, the law of life is the gross cannot control the subtle. Cannot. It is not how much sadhana you put in. You can put decades of your sadhana, but that doesn't directly control the mind. I can have my breath perfectly controlled, but that doesn't mean I'll be able to control the nature of the mind. This is not taught because it's not known and because it's not easy to practice. The easy way is marketed, and the ignoramuses, the masses, they are sold to the marketing gimmick of the gurus. And this pranayama is being marketed under every spiritual banner. You just have to open up your radars and just go and scan every banner that's offering what they are offering. They're offering pranayama and they're offering meditation. These are the two things that are being offered: yoga and pranayama and meditation. In all spiritual retreats, this is what is being taught. There is no Atma Vidya. There is no, this knowledge is not being given because it's not easy to teach this knowledge. At the same time, you may not have that many takers, though it's meant for everybody. So it is, people take the quick fix. That which is easier to sell and market is being taught and is being given out. Now the understanding we must have, when we understand the wholesomeness of what the mind is, then you understand how breath doesn't influence. The wholesome of the mind is a phenomenal resource of energy which expresses in the form of your impulses, your insatiable desires, your strong likes and dislikes, your strong emotions, and your strong attachments. Vijayaraghavanji, what are the 5 things I just spelled out? Oops. Don't tell that, huh?
I was not fully at getting everything to Guruji. Pranam.
I know that. That's the reason I only said oops on your behalf. No, maybe I was
thinking about something else as to relationship between the breath and the mind control. Why does it start first? Namaskar.
Namaskar. What were you asking, sir? Sorry.
No, the question you asked a question, Guruji, as to why do we start talking about this pranayama when it cannot be, a gross cannot control the subtle. And so I was just wondering whether it is the beginning to start controlling other things as a first step, because it's so fundamental. I mean, maybe I'm totally right or wrong, I don't know.
But you're right. It is a beginning, but it has a limitation.
Yes, yes.
But control of breath can regenerate, revitalize, strengthen the physical aspect of your personality, only the physical aspect.
My thinking was it paves way for, or enables us to start controlling other items.
Which is?
Other aspects like, other things we have mentioned in terms of other pranas, regulation of other pranas.
Yes, that's why I said. So pranayama helps you in your digestion, it helps you in your circulation, it helps you in your excretion, which are the other 3. The other last prana is thought absorption. Now this thought absorption, Udana Shakti, there is a connect between the gross and the subtle. And the connect between the gross and subtle is through the Udana. Udana is the thought absorption. Now, this is where we are being very specific and very scientific in the point that prana helps you control apana, vyana, samana. It doesn't help you in your udana. Udana is thought absorption. Because you say prana helps in other pranas. It helps you only control apana, which is excretion. Samana is digestion, and vyana, that is circulation. And if you have done yoga, and if you have kept yourself very regular, a daily practice of pranayama, and if it has become a very integral part of your exercise, you will find it has a phenomenal effect on your physiological functions and how healthy you are. And science has proven and experience has taught us this. So there's no refute about it. But to extend it and say it also influences your capacity to absorb the thought is wrong, because thought absorption is the subtle aspect. It belongs to the mind and intellect. So that's the connection between the gross body and the subtle body. It was a point we're making. And just to establish it beyond doubt, breath doesn't control the wholesome nature of the mind. And to mention the wholesome nature, I said 5 aspects of the mind. The mind has got, the mind is very impulsive. Have we all not fallen victims of our impulsive actions? Unmindful of our what we speak, when we speak, what we speak, what we do, when we did, whatever we did, we impulsive, and then we realize, I shouldn't have done that. But you already, since you've already done it, you invariably have to pay the price for that. So you become impulsive. Your mind has got insatiable desires. It has got strong likes and dislikes. Mind is a root of many emotions of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, bhaya. Sriniji, I suppose you know them exactly what it is. I got that by your reaction.
I wouldn't be able to repeat it, but yes, I know what it is. Yeah.
Anger,
Yeah.
Delusion,
Delusion,
greed, etc. So all that multitude of emotions, the mind is the seat of. Mind is also the root cause of your strong, inseparable attachments. Now, don't tell me. I will be ready to challenge any guru out there, present him in front of me. I am not here to challenge, but the great Adi Shankaracharya during his days went the length and breadth of the country to challenge and establish the school of thought. I would take to any guru, any platform, any stage to establish it that pranayama doesn't address this fundamental nature of the mind. Tell me these 5 aspects. How can breath change this? Your impulsive nature, your strong, insatiable desires, your likes and dislikes, your variety of emotions and attachments. Tell me that breath can take care of all these things. Don't make a joke out of it. Everybody is making a fool of everybody. The spirituality has become a big joke today, because something, just because it's easy to market and teach, you think you go about marketing this as spirituality, something which is easy to teach and something that is easy to practice, which is also meditation. These 2 extremities are being marketed as spiritual practices, which is not fair for the sincere seekers. The onus is on the gurus to do justice what these great masters and the scriptures are teaching us. You can't simply abuse the ignorance and the faith of the spiritual seekers. I would consider as cardinal sin. You must understand it. We don't mention, and it doesn't come out as strong as I am putting it, but this is the truth. And in order to examine that, you need to uncondition yourself and take a fresh measurement and study upon it. If you are conditioned by a certain experience of yours, it will be difficult for you to think afresh. So please take an independent note of what was said and examine it. Yes, Hirenji.
Out of these 5 items you said, is not impulsiveness. I mean, what I understood, you said that I have to probably completely get out of my conception and try something new after we hear you or go over these sessions. Impulsiveness is something we are taught kind of because we get into angry or get into sadness or something because of our impulsiveness of the mind. And by taking the right, say, normally we are taught that if we get angry, just slow down yourself, because our breaths become very fast and all kind of things. If you slow down, count to 10, take 10 breaths or whatever it is, then you can come back to your own senses and do something more reasonable than what you would have done before. Is that true? Or did I explain it as the question right? I'm not sure.
Now I'm emotionally hurt. Give me a couple of minutes for me to recover from that. Can somebody pass me a tissue, please? No.
Okay.
Sir, what you have told is a common belief or the norm which is being bombarded. So
Yeah.
you come to believe that's what the truth is. That's the way out to deal with what everybody is being subjected to. Nobody ever tells you that the physical anatomy, the pranas, the gross, the subtle prana, I repeat, there is the physical anatomy, the 5 pranas which function, there is the gross and the subtle prana, and then there is the subtle body, which is the mind. Subtler than the mind is the intellect, and it is only the subtle that controls the gross doesn't control the subtle. Nobody ever teaches you this, nobody tells you this, because if they teach and tell you, they have to give you the know-how to be able to apply it as well.
Mhm.
So what controls the mind is something subtler than the mind, which is the intellect, the buddhi, and the buddhi is a product of wisdom. Buddhi is nothing but wisdom. It's not how knowledgeable you are. It's not how many shastras you have parroted or you can memorize and you can chant. It's not how long you've been acquainted with the scriptures. It's not how scholastic you are. It's whether you have the wisdom in you. And one who is endowed with wisdom has the intellectual strength to handle all what the mind throws at you. Impulsive is different to becoming emotional, sir. You sort of connected impulsive and anger. Impulsive is different to emotional state where you lose control of your mind and become short-tempered or angry. Or you can throw tantrums because things don't happen the way you want. You become a rakshasa. You become, there's a certain ferocity in everything that you do and you speak. Everything becomes unpleasant for everybody thereafter. Why? Because you're not in your control. But that has got nothing to do with your impulsive nature. There's a distinct characteristics of the mind. That's why I said the 5 characteristics: impulsiveness, desires, likes and dislikes. What's the 4th one?
Kama,
Emotional state, kama, the krodha, lobha, etc. And then the 5th one is attachments. These are distinct and unique natures of the mind, which cannot be dealt with mere breath. They cannot be dealt with. You need to have something more superior, more profound, more wise counsel to supervise, influence, guide, and control it. And that's why we need the powerful knowledge and the wisdom to be able to imbibe and give you the parental control over the erratic and the uncontrollable nature of the mind. It's not possible by just sitting and breathing. Now I'm saying, having done this for 30 years at least, I have my own personal experience. I'm not something producing out of my own imagination or something which I've picked up yesterday and I'm just excited about it. No, you put it into practice and you know. There is enough rationality and enough experience to substantiate what I'm saying. And I'm ready to challenge anybody out there. And there's no intention to prove anybody wrong, but to prove what the right truth is. When I speak the truth, I must stand for the truth, isn't it? It's not to prove you wrong, but to prove the truth, the text right. The script, these are the scriptural ordinance. How can you flout that? You cannot flout that. So please take a very independent stands to receive what is being said without any prejudice. Not that you are, but I'm saying if you are conditioned with a certain thought, it'll be difficult because you're filtering constantly. But if you receive it as a fresh and examine it and then study it, perhaps you will know there is a lot of truth. No doubt breath is conducive for the mind, but it doesn't directly influence the mind. Just because it's conducive, they have stretched it and said beyond its applicability and say it does control the mind. We are only saying breath is conducive for mind control. Breath doesn't control the mind. Now, what they are saying, people out there, they are extending and saying breath controls the mind. There is a fallacy in that. Breath is conducive for mind control. Breath doesn't control the mind. There's a world of difference in these two. And that's the subtle difference you got to note. And that's what that is being said in the scriptures. Okay, sir?
Yeah, makes sense. Very, very much sense.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes. Vijayji?
Guruji, can I venture a small, interpretation? Perhaps breath control treats only the symptoms of what has gone astray in the mind. Like when we get excited, when we get angry, whatever, which affects the physical body also, because any major straying of mind results in a physical body's reaction also. I think possibly the breath controls helps to calm us down. Like they say, take a deep breath when you're very excited. I mean, it treats a symptom. It cannot, and I suppose, does not influence the mind per se. Perhaps by taking a deep breath, we also sort of, stop aggravating it further, and you acquire some time to think, which again is not the contribution by the breath control, but it's just a question of calming not having any further actions. So it's like they say, you treat the cause, not the symptom. So it can never treat the cause, and perhaps this helps you to treat the symptoms on the physical body. It's being physical, treats only physical. I'm just thinking aloud.
No, but you offered a venture, which I'm not interested, sir.
No, but everybody keeps saying, still take a deep breath, and it calms you down. Perhaps it calms us down only physically.
No, I'm only saying the venture, I'll say a pass. Did you not use the word venture?
Yes, I'm venturing a guess, yes. I'm not getting into any venture, not at this age, no.
No, I would not go into any venture. Therefore, I said no to it. No, in fact, you have a point, but it's being very careful where you don't overstep it. We have to understand it only provides a conduciveness, and to what extent do you give that boundary. It's like when you are giving the boundary of your parcel of land. You've got to be very careful. You can't say, oh, it's an unmarked boundary, let me extend my boundary by a meter or two. You will be in deep trouble.
Yeah, you can't stretch it.
Measurements, you can't stretch it. Please don't overstretch it. You may want to be a foot or two inside, not other side, isn't it? So I just taking a concept, but it is important the principle is understood. The gross does not control, only influences. So it's easy to say, take a breath. That's the reason it's told. But don't tell me by taking a breath, I'm able to keep my mind in the present. The mind, another feather you can add into the nature of the mind is mind constantly rambles into the past, the future. Don't tell me by breathing, you can keep the mind in the present. Not possible, not possible. It's not difficult, it's impossible. People keep marketing and saying, keep doing sadhana, one day you'll control it. That's their selling point. I'm not saying it's difficult, it's impossible. So you'll have to revisit the entire approach. Okay, sir. Now then you may wonder, why is pranayama being recommended here? Pranayama, in the context, since it involves the physical body, this refers to karma yoga. So the larger philosophical significance, pranayama refers to karma yoga. I said relatively, it refers to conduciveness to the mind. In the larger philosophical sense, it is karma. Now, why it's interpreted karma yoga? As it engages the physical body. Okay. Now, the second is pratyahara. Sriji, all okay? Any clarification? All good? Okay. So pranayama refers to the physical body, which is karma yoga. Pratyaharam, withdrawal from the sense activity. Now, withdrawal of sense activity, what backs the senses is the mind. So withdrawal of sense activity refers to withdrawal of the mind from the world, which refers to bhakti yoga. Now your mind is constantly engaged, your thoughts and emotions are directed to something worldly, something external. So to withdraw the mind from the worldly transactions onto the self. So when the mind is withdrawn from the preoccupations of the world and thought of the self or the higher, it's called bhakti. What was the last bhajan you all heard? Najima, she's the only one singing. Okay, Najima, hold on. Huh? Yeah, I know you're aware. RPG, what's the last bhajan we sang today?
I think it was Ramachandra Krupa. I don't know the other words, but I think that was the last one. No, no, I don't know the deeper meaning either, Guruji, but that's what I remember as the last one. It's a beautiful bhajan.
Very, very beautiful. And you should never ever intellectualize it, but even if you were to know its meaning, it's very, very touching. Even if you don't know it and if you just sing it, it's so melodious. It has that aura. So bhakti is to draw your mind slowly out of its mental attachments and introduce another thought to the mind to develop an attachment to it. What you're doing in bhakti is you're introducing the thought of the Lord, you're introducing the thought of the higher, you're introducing the thought of a higher form and saying, man, you're attached to your home, you're attached to your business, you're attached to your money, you're attached to your child, you're attached to your children, you're attached to your grandchildren. Why don't you develop an attachment to the higher also? So you introduce a bhajan and a prayer, a ritual, a form, so that you develop an attachment to. We all have developed an attachment to Lord Ganesha, isn't it? So yesterday was the last day where the deity is immersed into the waters. You know why you gloriously celebrate and then seemingly unconcernedly go and immerse it, unmindful, and destroy it, unmindfully destroy it? Why do you have to gloriously celebrate it and then go and demolish it and destroy it? Milimai, you know why people do that? Why our tradition endorses it and it's practiced everywhere? No, you can't say no like that. We will not accept that.
it's something about life principle is that beginning and end, and I'm not sure, but that's how I understood that every gross thing has end in it begins and it has end. That's it's I collect or because every ever occasion is like that, right? Begins and end, and we have to let it go. That is the life about.
Okay. I never knew that. So I've learned something today. No, you're very, very true, very right in saying that. Perhaps you could understand that nothing is permanent, it has to pass. So you take it that way. Yes. But it has a deeper significance, a greater significance. GBKG.
Jai Gurudev.
Namaskar. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Physically, the present for the environment point of view, the whatever the earth material comes from the lakes and all, that is, we have to remove the silt. That is one part which we have to create a sort of taking out the silt. At the same time, the herbal, medicinal, aromatic plants, which they are the most important to remove the pollution, like 21 patrikas, whatever are there. These patrikas, when it touches the water, it becomes samrut. It becomes samrut. That is the physical level, creating a pollution-free world. That is one which is sorted, one part. Anything, whatever is created by God, we are is our the type of giving back. That is not that what you have taken, everything is come from Him. Again, delivered to Him. That is to the either through water or through Agni. These two types. One is these are all soluble. This particular herbal medicine, they are all soluble. Even the mud, it goes into back to the same nature. So you give it back. That is what I feel.
No, you always you trigger certain thought processes which I would never have thought of. So I seriously bow down to your fresh perspective and very valid. In fact, I was so indeedly touched, a day prior to the Ganesh Chaturthi, the puja. You were so sweet of sending an idol home with all the 21, isn't it? The various, what do you call it, sir?
Patrika.
The various leaves and the offerings of the fruits. And with each set of leaves, there was a tag explaining what it is. I was just amazed. I was so blown away to the science behind it. And as he says, when these are offered back into the waters, it becomes, it cleanses the impurities even after the prayer. So it has a medicinal value. So all of that is very, very scientific, and greatly appreciate that, JBKG. Thank you. So it's a if you need any knowledge of it, he's always there. The knowledge is always in abundance. It's so much of a spillover. Just spending some time with him, so you can get a lot of it, a host of it. So that's one perspective. But from a pure philosophical perspective, very rare. You know someone who understands the deepest philosophical significance. Why is the idol, which is worship the Lord Ganesha, you do the pratishthan and then you do an immersion? Why do you go through this? Setuji?
Hari Om Guruji. Maybe it is referring, I recall this attachment of Ramakrishna Paramahansa to idol worship. His Guru broke the idol so that he doesn't get attached to the idol, but to the his divinity within him. So this destructing the idol is one should merging with the self.
Not wrong, not wrong. Yes, yes, I would say that. I would not draw a parallel to. Yeah, you can draw a parallel to the great reference of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, but it has a direct symbolic reference. Yes, yes, sir. You're right. I will hear from others. Yeah, Venkatramji.
Good morning, Guruji.
Namaskar,
I
namaskar.
think basically the idol is immersed with the same philosophical approach about why mandala art, which is made by the Buddhist monks, and very, very intricate rangoli made with, powder, like rangoli powder, is destroyed. At the end of it, there's a prayer said, everybody prays to the rangoli design, which is called mandala, and then it is just accumulated, destroyed, and poured in the river. Okay, it is immersed in water. It's the same reason why we put vibhuti in the morning, to remind us that ultimately we are all going to become ash, and we are going to know this. So basically, to remind us about the impermanent nature of anything, including divinity, no matter how beautiful it is my interpretation of why we do it.
No, it is very, very valid, and you can see it a larger reference not only in Hinduism but other religions and other spiritual practices as well, because the theme or the philosophical message is common. Doesn't matter in which form you practice it, but the message is universal. Yeah, that is a point which I would take. I would still say there is a deeper allegorical significance, and there is a deeper significance though, but absolutely right. The impermanence aspect which you say. Perfect. Yes, Ji. Yeah.
Thank you.
GBKG. Yes, sir.
The idol, when we take up, we always, the mantras, japas and all what we do, we don't see the form. That is maybe to start with the childhood, the people to bring the consciousness and awareness towards what really the God is. The God is ultimately what the stotras and mantras, whatever we do is gunas and shaktis we are praying. Like is Mahananta Gnana Sagar, Mahananta Shakti Sagar, Mahananta Aishwarya Sagar. There itself, the Gnan means Saraswati or Brahma, Shakti means Parvati and Shiva, and Aishwarya brings that Lakshmi and Vishnu. Similar way is Santosh, Mahananta, Santosh Sagar, Ananda Sagar, Santa Sagar, Daya Sagar, Karuna Sagar, Kshama Sagar, Prema Sagar. Prem means that is love. The unconditional love. These are all things which it is bringing to bring the idol in the form to otherwise, people cannot concentrate on the true knowledge, the wisdom is only possible by bringing, and ultimately we have to find this is not the what 4 hands are there, 10 hands are there, 5 heads are there, all this, representing the gunas and shaktis. That God is ultimately to understand He is not in the name or form or any, it is just because that is ultimately to teach the unconditional love. That is what I looked at. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. So you need to be very well versed in so many things to understand the language GBKG is saying. Having related to him and having interacted a little with him, I can see where he's coming from. So if some of you are not able to understand, you need to create an opportunity to meet up with him. So that's when you will completely understand where he's coming from. Yes, perfect. Yes, Vijayji. Vijayji, you must use this feature of raising the hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Marginal addition to Mr. Venkatraman ji ka point. I think it's basically a cycle. What comes goes, and you celebrate the coming and celebrate the going, and it's not because it's not the end, because it will come again. Because in Bombay, this is what they keep saying, every year it will come back. So nothing to, feel good or bad about it, and enjoy, worship him when he is with you.
Yes, Ji. Yes. I would only comment start by saying this above all. Can I, Vijayji? This above all what you have said is right, but above all of that, the quintessential reason why the idol is immersed is from the fundamental principle that idol only represents the ideal. The ideal is the truth, is the goal, is the reality, which is Brahman, which is formless. The truth or the reality is formless. So the various forms that we worship, it could be Goddess Durga, it could be Lord Ganesha, it could be the 16,000 odd forms of how we worship in Hindu religion, the various gods and goddesses. But why is the idol immersed? Is to symbolize that the idol has served its purpose and I have reached the ideal. So the immersion of the idol symbolizes the attainment of having reached the ideal, which is the goal, which is self-realization. And you need the idol to reach the ideal. And having reached the idol doesn't serve any more purpose to you. And to symbolize that, you immerse the idol. The idol is no more required. It just conveys this powerful point. So when you are with the idol, you are constantly reminded of the ideal, so that you don't develop an attachment to the idol. Remember this. Sriniji, this is the quintessential statement. Can you repeat that?
The immersion of the idol symbolizes, you said, the goal of reaching the ideal.
I'm sorry.
I wrote it as, I phrased it as the goal of reaching to the ideal.
Okay, yes, no doubt.
But or a purpose, and that you don't get physically attached. And it reminds you, and it keeps reminding you that you need to get to the ideal.
Correct, that's the word. Whenever you're worshipping the idol, you don't develop an attachment to the form or the idol, because it's only representing the ideal. The purpose is for me to get to that goal of realization, which is the ideal of the purpose. I've got into worshipping the idol. So you don't lose your focus and purpose. But sadly, nobody has that awareness. They all have stuck to the form and the worship, not realizing the larger purpose, what is intended behind that. Any form, anything idol represents a larger principle. So it reminds you, it protects you from getting attached. Two ways, twofold. It reminds you of the ideal, protects you from getting attached to the idol. What? The very idol itself. Isn't it? So the idol protects you from getting attached to the idol. It reminds you of reaching the ideal. If you understand it, rightly so. Otherwise, you lose the purpose. It doesn't serve the purpose, rather. Okay, Sriniji?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hariji?
Hari Om. Guruji, can we say, when we talk about idol, they are all terrestrial thing. Now we are talking about transcendental experience, or so the transcendental experience cannot be reached through terrestrial world. And we are trying to destroy the terrestrial experience by immersing the idol.
Yeah, you can say that. The real experience is beyond the transcendental. You can also say that the transcendental is being, you can also say that the transcendental is being represented through the terrestrial. So you're using the best in the terrestrial to remind you of the transcendental.
But then there is an end to it.
Correct. You have to cross the terrestrial to reach transcendental.
Yeah. So that immersion of the idol represents that we are,
the end.
That there is an end to the five gross element, which is the terrestrial object or terrestrial experience. And to reach the ultimate, you have to cross over the terrestrial experience.
Correct. Yes, you can say that. Perfect. Harishji, the famous example of.
I've written with Guruji, Hariom Guruji.
Yes, sir, Hariom, sir.
And the idea, finally at the end of it all the idol, etc., are like ladders to take you to a unknown, because most lay people cannot identify or cannot conceptualize or cannot really appreciate something which is not got a dimension, not got a physical form, which is ethereal, which is transcendental, or whatever it is. So therefore you use these ladders or these props. It's like the pole vaulter, right? He uses the pole to reach that height, but having reached there, he has to let go of the pole. Otherwise he will not be able to go on. Right?
Correct.
So yes. I think that is the basic significance, and everything else is an explanation of it's that. And it also shows the evolution of the lay person, that the lay person no longer needs the, having evolved, having done the sadhana, having done the puja, having done all that, he no longer needs the prop of that idol. So I think just a simple, that is the simplistic way of a layman looking at it.
Yes, correct, Ji. So all the concept of the idol and the ideal, Ramji, it should not become an idle talk. What is the spelling of the idle talk?
Really.
So let us not be, few wise people came and spoke and it doesn't remain as an idle talk. Why do I say that? The very knowledge we are receiving is also an idol. IDOL. But if you don't realize the knowledge also is an idol representing the
ideal.
The ideal, which is realization. So doesn't it give us the path? Doesn't it give us the purpose? Doesn't it give us the direction to get to the very purpose of life, which is realization? Yes, sir. But if you don't realize the wholesome exercise that we are engaged, the auspicious act of engaging in the Shastras, it will become an idle talk.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? That's the reason. What do we do before the class, sir? Gayatri, prepare the initial chant to be shared. Invocation prayer to know. When I tell you, give you a cue, please share that. Ramji, what is the invocation we chant?
Shanti mantra. Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu sahaveryam karavavahai tejasvanavdhinamastu mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
There is the invocation. And the translation, Ramji, please read for us, sir.
Om, may he protect us both. May he cause us to enjoy. May we strive together. May our study become brilliant. May we not become disputatious. Om, peace, peace, peace.
May we not become disputatious means let us not get into a difference of opinions and quibble and quarrel in the words and ideas. And then he says, may our study become brilliant. What does that mean, sir? Let us attain the tejas, he says.
Yeah. Means when you absorb the knowledge and convert it into wisdom, that tejas, that glow will come. The glow of the wisdom, you attain that.
Which is, ultimate glow is, don't say fair and glow.
No, that is.
What is fair and glow? Thank you, Gayatri Ma. We must ask the other department. Rajima, what is fair? Okay, Ushama. Rajima also, what is fair and glow? Fair and lovely, huh?
I think it's a cream, Guruji, which is popularly used to change the complexion of yourself, which doesn't happen really.
Don't start applying glow. Guruji only said, so let's not start applying all these fairness creams and all. And then Rajima, night cream, morning cream, afternoon cream. You know, Rajima gave some cream to Vijaya, and every night Vijaya Ma tells me, Rajima has given this, apply this. What is this I'd apply? No, some night cream is given. Till now, I didn't apply any cream. Now, because you're given, I'm starting applying every day cream at the end of the day before I sleep. Night cream, little bit. She said, I asked her, why are you putting? I must ask Rajima, why you put it? I don't know.
I just wondered where the glow is coming from.
Now I know, I tell you all. So, Ramji, you see these people, be very careful, sir.
I know. This is so gross, actually.
Let's pack our bags and go, sir. I am serious. This is the reason I need to, I am deciding, sir. Are you with me? I know you are with me.
100%.
Yes, sir.
We have to give up the grossest of the things, which is fair and lovely. Yeah.
And they are supplying cream, sir. What is going on? I am talking of the spiritual glow. They are trying to give an external glow.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, ma vidvishavahai. So, in the name of this knowledge, let us not get into any dispute, bickering, littleness, otherness. Let us go beyond all that and attain the tejas, which is the ultimate truth. So, the idol is not just the gross idol, which is symbolized by the immersion of Lord Ganesha, the idol, but the very knowledge we are seeking is also a means to get to an end. So let us not get attached to our viewpoints. Let us not become possessive of our point of view. You know, it doesn't matter. Don't be egoistic about it. It's just another way. That's what, when we open up a discussion and platform, the same thing, we get different perspectives. End of the day, what are they? Ushama, you know, in the play Hamlet one day was walking in the aisle. He had a book in his hand and he was just walking in the aisle up and down. And his minister, Polonius, he walks in and he sees Hamlet so engrossed reading a book. And the minister asks him, "What readest thou, master?" And you know what was the famous remarks of Hamlet? Evolo Peria question, one word answer, no, you said. At least for respect, Gaga, you will say a few more words, no? Such a long question I asked, one word answer, she said no. Kamalji, look at her. I don't know whether you followed my comments in Tamil. Such a long question I asked, she just said no. One word answer, she said. Very unfair on her, no?
That is a normal answer, sir.
Oh, okay. then I also get used to it, sir. I'll also have to practice a little bit of austerity of speech now. So can you please give me some tips, Ramji?
Austerity of speech is the only way.
Only way. I shall follow. You're my guru on that. I shall follow. Anybody knows? Harishi, you know what are the words of Hamlet? RPG?
Words?
What?
Just
Don't say
words.
it once. He just in his own philosophic, obviously it's so philosophic, but he was so full of wit, and he just looked back to the minister and said, "What readest thou?" Words, words, words. That's all it is, he said, you know. He repeats it thrice. He's saying, it's words, words, words. So what did we transact today? It's just words, words, words. Don't get caught up in the words. The real gist, the philosophy is in between the words. How does it matter what word we use, isn't it? The stages is in between the words. Yes, sir.
So it's interesting now as one thinks about these later verses and they go back to the beginning, right? When Sankara is walking with his disciples and he sees the old teacher and the grammar rules, and he says, you know what, seek the self, this stuff, you fool, it doesn't matter. And this is just a nice closure to, you know, beginning that closing of that whole argument and that whole the importance of what is really important here, which is get to the self. No, any and all of this other stuff, it doesn't matter. Grammar, knowledge, anything, meter, stanza, doesn't matter. It's just nice that it comes, and maybe it, you know, in the later in 31, maybe there's more, but it just hit me that this verse does such a nice job of reminding us of what Adi Shankara said at the beginning, which is grammar is not important. Seek the self.
It's just a masterpiece, isn't it?
It is.
Such a masterpiece.
It really is.
It's just so profound, and it is all hidden in their own language. As I said, you know, when he says pratyahara, he means all that. When he says pranayama, he means all that. So to be able to bring that extract out, you know, the fact that they have packaged it is, and if you're able to connect with it, it just lifts you. And I can relate to what you're saying. It just lifts you. I only pray this thought which we are elevated, we are able to uphold the thought during the course of our day's activities. Mm-hmm. But if that thought gets diluted and gets filtered and it loses its impact, that's the reason you need to do, you know, supportive activities of sadhana during the course of the day, that this thought gets protected. You know, it's like the lamp which is lit. It has got a small frame which protects the lamp. Otherwise, the lamp will flicker in the wind and the breeze, and it just gets blown away, isn't it? So if you have lit that lamp of wisdom, you need to ensure that that lamp is protected. So it's throughout the day, the various activities that you do helps you do that. Okay. Anyway, thanks, Sarviji, for reminding us of the opening, the beginning verses of BHAJAGOVINDAM. It was, I don't know which year we started it. I don't know, but thanks for reminding us on that. Yes, Hirenji.
Yeah, can I ask for a quick clarification on the invocation? When it says
sir.
us or both, what it is meaning? Is it guru and disciple or?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, an invocation is traditionally chanted by the guru and the shishya.
Okay.
So when that prayer is chanted, it includes the Guru Shishya, so that it is, we are both in this journey. I help you evolve, you help me evolve. The Guru doesn't have the arrogance to say, I have reached that stage, you better do it. No, he humbles himself down to say that we are in it. Even a Guru may have attained that state of moksha or enlightenment, but still he is a part of that entire exercise, you know. That's the beauty. So every time we chant that, you must feel the pulse, you must feel that vibrance, and that vibration must be there, you know. Then thereafter, doesn't matter what words are spoken, who speaks them, what they said, what they intended, make sense, spoken rubbish, doesn't matter. I don't want to be caught up in the words. All I want is the essence. Because many a time we get caught up in the words, don't we?
Understand. Yeah.
Even in our own relationship with our family, it's the words that hurt us. Why are we just caught up in what they say, man? You know, if you have that bottom identification with them, these words don't hurt you. You don't get offended. Why are you offended? No, I was offended the way he said that. And why are you getting caught up in the words, man? You know, just go beyond that. You start seeing, maybe that person was disturbed. That's the reason he spoke those words. You start thinking from that person's perspective, than saying I was hurt by the words he or she spoke. Why are you caught up in the words? That person may have come from a certain mental state. You start, you go beyond it and you start identifying. So the invocation, not just this invocation, any invocation chanted is actually chanted by the student and the Guru and the Shishya. So you also should chant along whenever we do chant. Okay, Ji?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Right. I think Rajima, you had asked a question in the chat box. You said something earlier, when you stand up for the truth and one sees untruth being supported, how does one control the mind? Does one just accept it and be non-judgmental? I don't understand, Ma, please. Would you mind explaining, please?
It's when one understands the truth and one stands up for the truth, and untruth is being supported around you. How does one control, and you see that disparity, how does one control the mind?
Whose perspective are you talking about? As an observer?
One's own perspective, as an observer.
Okay, so much of corruption is happening out there. So much of destruction is happening out there. So much of evil is happening out there in the world. You see it. The policies, the government has created the various policies, but no policy is being implemented. The leaders are corrupt, unethical,
full of
selfish.
lies, full of, just untruth being spoken. You feel there's a disconnect there.
It is for them, who is doing it, it's for them to deal with it. Christ says, iniquity there shall be in this world, but woe unto you, thou not be the cause of it. Iniquity there, Harishi, could you type it out, please? Iniquity there shall be in this world. Woe unto you, thou not be the cause of it. There will be this inequality, there will be this iniquity, there will be these differences, there will be this disparities, there will be these shortcomings, there will be flaws. That is the part and parcel, that is the very definition of the world. The world is nothing but opposites. So you will find it in every place, everywhere. But woe unto you, thou not be the cause of it. Means you rise to such a level that you don't become the cause or instrument of such disparity, such inequality, such iniquity. That people don't find it in you. That means you become an embodiment of truth. See, so you don't be the instrument of it. If something imperfection is out there, let that be so. But you don't become an instrument of imperfection that it doesn't resonate, others don't resonate that with you. But what is this lady? She does one thing, she says one thing. People don't recognize that with you, but you may recognize with them because that is their level. That's the nature of the world. But you are so true to yourself, you uphold your conscience, you live a life of satyam, that you become an embodiment of truth. O unto you. O is O-W-E, sir. Not O, O, O-W-E. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Am I pronouncing it right? O unto you, thou not be the cause of it. So you are not the instrument of it, but it's a fabulous quote. Does it justify and clarify, Ma? Right. We will. Okay, before we conclude, I would want to leave you all with a thought to ponder, and perhaps we'll come back and discuss. The next point he makes in the text is focus on the distinction between the eternal and ephemeral, which is nitya, anitya, viveka, vicharam. Now, this capacity to distinguish between the eternal and ephemeral is measured by what? The capacity to distinguish between the eternal and the ephemeral is measured by what? It's a capacity. So what is it that is it that measures this capacity? I wouldn't want to give any cue. Give it a thought. We'll come back to it. Okay. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.